I'm Bridget Allen,
I'm Marie McNamara,
and we are One Mother Tongue,
a podcast of uncomfortable conversations about motherhood. And in this episode, we're going to talk about just, how we hold space for the masculine in this time when everything's transforming. So we thought we'd dive into that really comfortable conversation.
because we feel like the masculine, we want to talk about the masculine, as a whole, as a collective consciousness that we are living in, but in its distortion, really. So there's kind of this high level collective masculine patriarchy that we live in, and then there's all of the other layers. There's the layers in all the different aspects of life, and that
even
means
the way that we mother.
Yes.
Like, I know the way that I mother has a masculine element to it. It's just that, just keep going, just keep going, just keep. I mean, I know there is an element of you just do have to keep going as a mother, but there's a very masculine element to motherhood as well, and the masculine within myself,
and masculine in our relationships, and seeing our partners transform in this time. And so we just wanted to have this conversation of all of these layers and levels that we're transforming within, and honor the journey, because it can be pretty intense at times, and just all we're wanting to do is shed light on this what's happening, because it can be kind of confusing in partnership, and confusing in also, I feel would be a great, whether it's this conversation or another, is how we're parenting, because you have two boys and I have a daughter, and just the differences that we notice coming through, and how we're meeting those kinds of challenges, because we're still living in and exposed to whatever degree this old world, and what it brings up in us, because ultimately it's always the trigger for what's inside, and what we're ready to let go of. So where do you feel like starting? Do you feel like at that high level?
I think so. Maybe if we get that macro overview, then we can sort of go. I think the micro will kind of infuse into that. I think it's important to just, especially, I think it's such a loaded topic too, the masculine. There's so much hatred is a word that's coming to I'm trying to think of a different word, but there's so much, the masculine gets such a bad rap too. So I would love to have that macro container of love, to have this conversation within, so that when we talk about the masculine and we talk about, I don't know, we just bring love into that, and love for where we are sitting as humanity at this moment. Where we are is just perfect. Like, it's all happening exactly as it's meant to, because sometimes you can go, oh, the masculine is, bring down the patriarchy kind of thing. It's like, actually, I personally don't feel that's the answer, of just sort of like meeting it with, meeting it with
force.
Force and hatred, and but to meet it with love, of like, it's been a necessary,
but also accountability. And that's we were talking just before we recorded about what are we here to share, and we are here to share this energy of love, but in all of love's forms, and one of those forms is accountability. And I know for me, when I kind of reflect on my experience of that distorted masculine, because that's really what we're talking about. It's bringing it back into this balanced state of the divine masculine and the divine feminine rising up into her, this equal merge, and becoming that one energy again. But my experience of the masculine has been working I worked in the family violence sector, the women's homelessness sector, sexual assault work, and mental health work for 13 years, and so with women. And so I saw I kind of saw firsthand the impact, the very, this spectrum of trauma and the impact of trauma on lives. And I kind of feel like I saw this really dark, very dark end, but also within that, this kind of incredible ability to live through such darkness and such trauma. And so, but I know the journey that I went on working in that space, and working particularly in family violence and sexual assault, because there was a big movement, that feminist movement around, and often a real sense of the hatred of men. Yeah. And I certainly didn't grow up with that. I grew up with really beautiful men who were kind and generous and loving. And so it was always this kind of like, oh my God, this dichotomy of seeing the potential and then seeing sometimes the reality of where a lot of other people were living. Yeah. But over the years, I realized like that for me to hate these men who are perpetrating violence against women and children, and it just seemed, well, that's not going to get me anywhere. It's not going to get the people I'm working with
meeting
anywhere.
That energy with the same energy, and that won't shift anything.
Yeah, and so really looking at, well, how do I bring understanding to why maybe some of these men, because it was predominantly men, were perpetrating violence. And once I started to see that the most of the women I worked with, they didn't hate their partners. They wanted their partners to stop perpetrating those acts of violence and the control and the power. They just wanted that to change. Yeah. But they often could just see the essence of their partners. And then all of the behaviours really clouded a lot of that. But I don't know, I really started to unpack the layers of how could I have compassion for men who are doing this without allowing the behaviour, not condoning or I can't think of what the word is, but
condoning, not saying it's acceptable. It's not acceptable.
But how do we change it? Like what's been lacking in these people's lives to commit such crimes? Against people that they supposedly love. Yeah.
Well, I guess what's lacking is love. Is that deep love of self, because no matter how much somebody loves you, if you don't love yourself, you can't allow in any of that love. You can only be loved to the extent that you are loving yourself. So really,
it was a very big, it was a long journey of work in that field, but it opened my eyes, because we work with children and young boys and mothers with young children and young girls, and often seeing similar behaviours in young boys as what was happening in there, because it's that life of imitation. And just seeing, when you could see, well, a young child using that behaviour, it's just an adult using the same. I don't know, there was this kind of, it really helped me to make peace with it. Yes. But also to take a very firm stand against it. Yeah. And so I feel like I bring a lot of that experience into my own life, into my own relationship, into my friendships, and just how can we see beyond the behaviour? Yeah. Beyond the trigger, beyond the deeper layers of what's happened to this person. And not condone the behaviour, but how do we create that love and that space?
Have our clear boundaries, but also create that space for, and obviously in our partnership, in our personal partnerships, is not I don't know, just Like, it's not about loving. I don't know how to say. It's not about, like you say, condoning. We're not condoning that behaviour. But just bringing it, because that's quite extreme. Like, just even bringing it down to, okay, the masculine, that's the extreme end. But then just the ways that the masculine in our own life and maybe within our relationships, how you create a space of love for that, whilst also being very clear with your boundaries and creating a space for it while also you're rising up yourself into your feminine,
which can unsettle things.
Yeah.
Because we've all grown up conditioned into these ways of being, and that the masculine's been conditioned into having things a certain way, and their partners a certain way, and when we start to grow and shift and transform, ultimately,
because there's a whole new way, and we can feel it, and yet, I'll just speak for myself and in my relationship, I can see that we're here, but I see this whole potential for conversations and for a way of being within the family unit, and a way of sharing all the jobs and the parenting and the everything. I can see this whole new way that's coming, but we're not there yet. And to just, how do I encourage those conversations, but from a place of it not coming out, I do all the dishes and you don't do all the dishes. Like, I don't know, just there's such a history of like this sort of feeling for the feminine, for the woman, just that feeling of being made to feel submissive. And how do you...
I also wonder whether it's kind of what I heard when you were saying, like, doing that. It's like it's an unseen weight. Yeah. You can't put it's so unseen, all of it. It's all of the behind the scenes stuff that is starting to be, you know, make itself very visible, and just that discrepancy between where we've come from and where we're going is so heightened at the moment in every aspect. And within, I can feel it just within my own relationship, everything's heightened so much that, just the discrepancy between our roles and our conversations, and that just everything is just very heightened at the moment. And all of it's falling away. The feminine's falling away, the masculine's falling away in the old way that we know it. It's all falling away. So, but before it falls away, it's got to be seen.
It does,
and understood, not just seen, but just acknowledged.
Compassion, and that there's a few things. It's taking responsibility that we've all created this. This hasn't been, the patriarchy hasn't been created just by men. No. Like, it's been created by all of us. All of us have led humanity to where we stand right now, and all of us will lead it into the future.
I always say patriarchy doesn't work for men either.
No.
It really doesn't.
No.
But because we see it in our partnerships and of what our partners are trying to hold together. You know, all of the old weights and of providing and success and being, you know, all of this, and that's all getting challenged. And then in the home, we're asking them to step back in, to be present, to be engaged and home all the time, and sharing the, you know, we're asking so much of them. And, you know, I know for my partner, he's really starting to feel into that and to understand that and have compassion for himself in trying to juggle it all. And I feel like men are starting to talk to each other more and more, and not only talk to each other, but vulnerably connect. Yeah. And it's so beautiful to watch and to witness. And I don't know about you, but I have seen the masculine, going through these transformations, these big challenges, and it doesn't look like my journey. It looks very different to my journey, because it's like a stripping away for them. It's this kind of like being all the fire burning away all this bullshit that's not true and not real. And for me, it's been this kind of, that feminine rising, having to face the fear. Whereas for the masculine, it's this letting go of all of the untruths that they were told were real, and what it meant to be valued, and that you matter, So I've seen this, and what I've been practicing for about a year now is, how do I just witness? How do I be this loving witness without trying to get involved and fix it or control it or make it, why don't you do this or that? And because I used to do that, and I'm sure it just felt like another pressure of, I know you're trying to help, but just like, give me some space. And what I'm really recognizing is that it's not the same. It's the same journey, because we're going to the same place within. Within ourselves, but it's
different.
It's
a different route for everybody, but
I heard a beautiful teacher say the other day, we all have our own maze. No, I can't know what your maze is. You can't know what my maze is, and that it's just honouring that you are in the maze. And
so it's pointless to be saying, "Oh, you turn right at the big hedge."
No, exactly.
What big hedge? I've got brick walls.
So I feel like
that's a great gift we can give each other in relationships, whether it's our friendships, our families, our husbands, our partners, to just give them that space to find their own way. But man, that's uncomfortable.
It really is.
It's really uncomfortable when you can see them floundering.
Yeah, and you know where they've got to go.
Well, you think you do. And just to leave them be and let them to work it out themselves.
But it's not. It feels to me like it's not about just work it out on your own. It's saying, so I'm here. What can I do? What do you need? How can I support you through this without interfering in the actual process? It's like, can I create more space for you? I see you. Like I said to Pete the other day, I feel like all we need to tell each other is, I see you. I know what you're dealing with, and that takes sharing what we're dealing with. And I know with us, it's finding out what's going on after the fact, especially in the work realm. Whereas the parenting realm, you kind of have to share a lot of it, but it's opening up those lines of communication so that I can't necessarily do anything, but I can hold a space for you. I can open up communication. I can encourage it. I can show compassion for what you're working with.
And that can be tough sometimes when you're, I know in my own situation, there's times where you feel like you're in a complete void sort of thing within the relationship, and to just have that, what's the word? Just to then be able to say, what do you need, darling? When you're there just going, I'm just managing my own thing and just managing everything with the kids, and then just be.
But maybe that's the time where you don't.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that's also an old program of I have to just keep on holding it together for everyone. That is an old thing
Yeah.
that we can't do. So it's this kind of dance, like where sometimes you've got the cup full enough in you to offer a space, and sometimes you just don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're having to ask. But that's what I guess I'm getting at. It's like, how do we both recognize that?
Yeah.
And how do we communicate that rather than saying, like, I'm fucking losing it here.
Yeah.
Like, how do we notice the build up to
Yeah.
it and say, I need to take some time for myself.
Yeah.
How can we work this out?
Yeah.
Or I feel concerned about what's happening, or how you don't look well, or I haven't, it's just
how do you have those conversations?
And for me, I know that it's because I learnt this in my work. If it's this care and concern, not the meddling, not the kind of martyr them, but this is what I see. This is what I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like, that is a powerful statement.
It is.
And that doesn't mean I'm going to take on your burden.
Your stuff.
It's are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm not okay at the moment.
Yeah.
It opens up a compassionate sharing space that your children witness.
Yes. Yeah.
That your children witness. And I feel like that's such a big thing, is that our kids are witnessing how we do this. And we're learning, and we're like flopping around and doing our best, but it's like, can you say, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. A question that my husband and I ask each other is, what do you need right now, sweetheart? And that just seems to diffuse anything. Just to be able to say, okay. But sometimes it's hard, because you're in you're just wanting them to ask you, and you have to be, just go, okay, I can see he's struggling, and I know I'm struggling. So what do you need, sweetheart? And then often it just softens everything, rather than, what the hell's wrong with you? It's all that dialogue. What's wrong with you? What are you? That kind of, which just is more.
Well, and I know I say to Frida, like, I don't say what's wrong. I say, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Because there is nothing wrong.
No.
It's just there's something
what
going on. So what's happening? Are you okay?
I use the what do you need, sweetheart, with the boys, with Huddy. Definitely that helps. What do you need right now, sweetheart? Yeah, because most often it's just a hug. And which is really what our partners are saying the same thing. A hug. Just a hug, to know it's all okay, to know that you love me despite me being right in the midst of it right now and not being able to give much. Yeah.
And I feel like it's a good time to talk about, we're going to do another recording about this, but the way that we've created our family units particularly, and the motherhood role and the father role, or just the parenting roles, genderless really, but we've created it so that we have to be everything to every aspect, and
within the partnership,
and don't ask for help, because God forbid you need help. You're meant to be able to do this, all of this, but particularly when shit hits a fan and the world is just combusting. We've been through 6 days of flooding where we are. You can't actually really leave your house. You're not meant to be driving around. And
most of the roads are closed.
Lots of roads,
at home.
School's cancelled, all of it, and so it's just like little epicenter. And what we're learning how to do, I feel, well, I know you and I are practicing it, it's how do we parent together? How do we share how we're going? How do we ask for help? How do we navigate it as a community rather than a
bringing
individual?
up children was never designed to be done by just two people alone in their little,
echo chamber.
Where you're expecting your partner to be your best friend, your lover, your everything. You're expecting everything from one another, where those expectations in village life, you would have been getting needs met in so many other ways through a community, and then the children would have been getting their needs met too in so many ways from aunties and uncles and all these relatives that are around, and all the support that comes with that. But yeah, that's a
but I don't know about you, but it feels to me, because I know that especially since meeting you, I've been leaning into that, and it's been showing me where my relationship can be stretched, and another, where we can bring more people in, but you have to let go of this little stranglehold you've got on what we thought it was, and it was meant to be, and risk losing whatever you thought it was to allow a new energy to come in, and trusting that, okay, this is the part of the shift, this is the letting go, and the allowing new energies to enter, and changing what I have, and letting the voids come when things are getting stretched and changed, and really less letting go of control, and allowing these transformations to occur. So there's so much, isn't there?
Which is what, just bringing it back to the masculine and the feminine, and that's what we're being asked to do in that too, just to allow that release of our hold on those roles, and what we think, or what that has meant, what that, just letting go. And we're in limbo, like with everything else in life. There's just a bit of limbo as you let go of one old way for a new.
Everything's new.
Everything's new.
We were saying that the other day, as we're trying to set things up. Everything's new. Everything's new.
Everything's new. There's
so
a whole
give yourself
new way.
Time.
Be kind. Be kind to yourself.
So if you're feeling any of these things bubbling up in your own life, or you're seeing it in other people's lives, I would really encourage you to ask those same questions if you have capacity. And we're really learning, like, do I have capacity? Because I know I've got a tendency to overgive. And I'm learning how to temper that when someone is in need, and just to let that, okay, do I have capacity? What is my capacity?
It's not sacrificing
because
yourself,
because
then that just becomes more of the old energy.
And I feel like I am learning about that. It's not always smooth, and sometimes I get, bites me in the butt. But having
just knowing
compassion
that
for myself,
and that knowing that you are forging a new path, and being kind to yourself, that sometimes you do feel like you are alone in that a little bit within the relationship. I can speak for myself. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone in that new way that I'm forging, and then I'll fall back into the old way, and that's okay. And just being kind and compassionate to myself in those times when I do, but also knowing that I am just holding a space for something new. And
all the shackles have got to be released, don't they? So just that we would always really encourage that inner inquiry and reflection, and each video we do a summary of the video and questions for self-inquiry and journaling, or whatever your method of introspection is, whether it's a conversation with somebody else in one of these deeper, rich conversations. We would just really encourage you to do this work now, while this new energy it's the energy of transformation. It's so powerful and potent, and if we move with it and we do what it's asking us to do, it's incredible. Where we're going and where we're what we're uncovering.
What's birthing at this time.
So I know I feel really excited.
Yeah.
And I also kind of, honour the chaos that we're all in.
Yeah.
And finding my practice is just to find that stillness, and that comes through self-inquiry, that comes through self-responsibility, comes through feelings as they come.
Yeah. Through self-love. Self-understanding and kindness and compassion.
And keeping on showing up.
Yeah. For sure. So, anything else?
No, I don't think so. So we deep love and reverence to you for being part of this conversation. Just know that we see you.
We hope that this gives you permission to have some uncomfortable conversations in your own life. Please like, subscribe and share.